Yep, great to have you all here. Let's see what's making the headlines this morning. The Sunday Telegraph leads with Manchester United's 2-0 win over Manchester City, Carrick in Derby dreamland, and below that, Frank fighting for job as fans jeer, and captain calls defeat a disaster. New era, old thrills is the headline in the Sunday Times, along with Frank on the brink and Glasner saying, I felt completely abandoned. More on the Merseyside derby in the Sunday Mirror. Fast car is their headline. Kind of works. The Observer has a picture of a Micheal Carrick scarf and the headline, Winter Warmer. And the Manchester derby theme continues on the Mail on Sunday. Dream derby, and there's more on Thomas Frank being on the brink of being sacked. Carry on Man United is the headline in the Sun this morning, and on the side there, Mick rages at Pen KO. The Sunday Express says Pep's Rick rolled, alongside raging Glasner says it's Palace in Blunderland. And finally, the Star is car revved up. Right, welcome along again, gentlemen. Only one place to start. It is, of course, the Manchester derby. The Sunday Telegraph goes with Carrick in Derby dreamland. John, I just want to take a quote from inside the Sunday Telegraph. James Ducker, who was at Old Trafford for the 2-0 victory for United, said Micheal Carrick went to bed on Friday night dreaming of a Manchester United victory, but even he admitted he could not have imagined it shaping up the way that it did. It was an incredible performance from United, John. Was this more than simply the new manager bounce for you?
Yeah, I think it was. It brought with it a new energy. I love the energy from the supporters within Old Trafford. You could feel the kind of the atmosphere and the noise and the energy resonating from your TV if you were watching it yesterday, because they were just empowered, I think, by the performance that United put on. I thought they were full of different ideas. Yes, there's a freshness about Carrick, and you know, also his coaching staff, Steve Holland, who I think was a really inspired choice as his coach. And I just think that there's a willingness there to succeed. He's a favourite old son, isn't he, Micheal Carrick, of a brilliant era when they were so successful and they won the biggest and best trophies. And so I think that they're always going to be enthused by that. And I don't know that it could have gone any better for Micheal Carrick. Maybe if one of the 3 goals that were ruled out for offside after VAR checks had gone in, then maybe. But what a scoreline, what a performance. It was absolutely a brilliant, all-encompassing, fantastic, energetic display, full of energy. It did make me laugh, and sort of kind of COCOM's Gary Neville was sort of saying, let's not get carried away, let's not get giddy. Well, let's get giddy, because it was brilliant. You know, he's right. He's right, of course. They're basically saying that, you know, let's not carry it away. You can't give him the job. I know it was a sort of a big discussion point in the studio, wasn't it? But I just thought, yeah, let's enjoy the moment, and that's what United fans, I think, feasted on. They haven't had much to shout about. Every big decision, every big call, like, for example, Dorgu, you know, who's been great lately, in fairness to him, but Dorgu rather than Cunha, for example, Amorim would get killed for that, but it came off for Carrick, and that's the difference, and that's what a new energy, a new belief, and something new for the players to feast on. And to a man, I must say, the United team was absolutely magnificent.
The Carrick for the permanent job wasn't just discussed in the studio. I know people are kind of chuckling, Jack, but if I can just direct you to Martin Samuel's piece in the Sunday Times, he says, to carry on like this, and why can't it be Carrick who takes Manchester United forward long term, not just until the end of the season, but beyond? If Carrick returns the club to the Champions League, and they were top 4 when the final whistle blew, of course, Liverpool's draw took them above them again, and he continues extracting performances like this, why shouldn't he be given a significant opportunity? So Carrick did change something about the place. He harnessed its energy, harnessed his history, harnessed how the club once faced the world, and that has to mean something. Unless they are all just wasting this man's time, it should count for rather a lot. Can he make a big case to take this job on a full-time basis?
I think he's already made a big case. I think that yesterday was probably United's best performance, probably their best performance for years, probably their best result since they beat Manchester City in the 2024 FA Cup final. You know, to really wipe the floor with City like they did, I don't think 2-0 really does them any justice, given the disallowed goals, given the other chances they missed, the times they hit the woodwork. It was such an impressive performance, and one that will really resonate with the expectations that Manchester United fans have. I think that if they can come anywhere close to replicating that over the final, the final section of this Premier League season, and they can finish well and maybe finish in the Champions League places, I think that it would make perfect sense to give him the job. I don't think fans would necessarily want to go back to the drawing board, getting in another, high-profile manager, probably from a different league, who might have a very good CV, but doesn't have that same connection, that same understanding of the club that Carrick clearly has.
The difficult thing, I think, is if they're going to. It depends whether they want to go for that big-ticket manager, doesn't it? If they're going to go for a Tuchel, someone of that ilk, maybe wait until after the World Cup, that's a bit different. If they're going to go and pick a manager from overseas that's done well, or a Fabian Hertz, not him specifically, but someone like that, you may as well stick with Carrick as long as he has the strong end to the season, I think. Because if you're going to go and get someone that is on the up and you want to develop, why not take the man you've already got there? But the other side of it is that we've had a week, 10 days since Amram was sacked even longer than that, the club's a mess behind the scenes. Do these people know what they're doing? Jason Wilcox, Omar Barada, can they be trusted to run the club properly? One win, great day, great win. Like Crossy said, live in the moment and enjoy that day. Does that change everything behind the scenes? Does that fix all the problems that are there? Can Carrick deal with that going forward? That's the bigger thing. The bigger picture is that a lot of resetting still needs to be done at Old Trafford.
Just picking up on that, Jack, Rory Smith in The Observer says Manchester United know more than most that things that are bad for you are sometimes the things that make you feel good. They know that they have made the mistake before, allowing the heart to overrule the head, overlooking the rational in favour of the romantic. Because the narrative has been you can't give Carrick the full-time job, just let him go till the end of the season, because he's almost paying for the fact that they gave Ole Gunnar Solskjaer the job. Do United need to be a little bit careful here? Because if he does do really well, and he is indeed the man for the job, there is that danger that they might not give it to him simply because of what has happened in the past with Ole.
They just need to take it on the evidence, don't they? There's a lot of things that have gone very wrong in the past at Man United, and they never really seem to learn from them. They've made the same mistakes in terms of appointments, giving the power to the manager and giving them the players that they need. They did it with Ten Hag. They were going to sack him, interviewed a load of people. He won the cup. They couldn't really find the right person. Not only did they keep Ten Hag, but they gave him so much money and power in that window. Those are the mistakes that were made then that they need to learn from. I don't think Ole's the big one that's going to be hanging over this, really. It needs to be taken on what Carrick can do. He's got a lot of free weeks. There's no Europe. They're not in the cups. He's got plenty of time to work with this squad. If the players buy into it, and he can show some performances like yesterday, nothing's going to hit the peak of yesterday, really, unless they go to Arsenal and blow the doors off them away from home, which no one's really expecting. If he can put some evidence together, then that's what they need to focus on. The feedback from the squad, the players, he's already got better performances out of them very quickly. And like John said, Steve Holland's a fantastic appointment as well. If you can get a coaching staff that this squad believe in and the fans can connect with, that's what they need to base their decision off.
I think it's really important that Manchester United don't learn the wrong lessons from the appointment of Solskjaer. Solskjaer did pretty well. They came second under Solskjaer, they reached cup finals, they reached semi-finals. And Solskjaer had a way of playing which I think connected really well with the players they had and with the fans. The problem that Solskjaer had was they bought him Cristiano Ronaldo in 2021, which completely destroyed his ability to play the sort of football that he wanted to play, the sort of football that he was actually really good at coaching the team to do. And it's very easy now for people to say, they should never have appointed Solskjaer in the first place. They were actually doing fine under Solskjaer until they bought Ronaldo. So I think that's the lesson that they have to take if they're thinking about Michael Carrick. It's not necessarily wrong to give the job to a Manchester United club legend rather than a big ticket manager who's won lots of stuff in other countries. The issue is if you're going to give the job to a club legend under those circumstances, you have to allow him to play the football. You can't go and impose bad signings like Ronaldo on him.
I would love to see Michael Carrick get the job, but I think it would be, as we sit here now, it would be completely the wrong choice. I think we would go into this cycle again. He's perpetuating ridiculous soap opera that is Manchester United, of going on the basis of 15 games. Honestly, it's crazy. I completely do agree with Gary Neville in saying that basically you don't get carried away. It's one game, and it does feel to me as if we've got shades of Ollie at the wheel here, and basically former players getting on the bandwagon saying I'll give it to Carrick. Listen, he might convince quite a few people differently over the next few months. And all of a sudden, listen, as I say, I do think that bringing in Holland was a masterstroke, because you've got absolute gravitas in a stellar coaching appointment. So we're not talking just someone here then without, too much backing up or too much experience, should I say. But honestly, I just feel that doing it would be, as I say, he might change our opinions. He might go on getting an incredible energy, which would be undeniable. But I honestly, I would take some convincing on that, because if you then compare, say, for example, Thomas Tuchel, who I think is the outstanding choice, the outstanding candidate. I get it's terrible timing because of England and the World Cup. But when you have a manager like that, who wins Champions Leagues, is all-encompassing, would bring an energy, would bring a style. Yes, he would bring a performance level that United fans and brand of football that United fans would buy into. I'm sorry, but you are talking about two totally different aspects there. Total respect for Carrick. I think he's done really well, learned his trade, is improving all the time. Shrewd appointment in Holland, but compare that to Thomas Tuchel. I'm sorry, but they just don't compare. United aspire to be the biggest club in the world. I applaud Barcelona for giving us Pep Guardiola, the best manager of his generation, where he was effectively reserve team manager, and just look how that's gone. So there's a big case for that. Please don't get me wrong. But at this point in time, there's so much behind the scenes at United that you need a massively strong figurehead, an experienced figurehead, to bring them back. They are a very capable squad, as we saw yesterday, of pushing on. They should be nowhere near mid-table. They should be pushing on. And I think that going down the romantic former player route is a mistake that they've made before. To do it again would be wrong.
But Crossy, it's worked for Arsenal and Arteta, right? How different is Carrick's experience level from Arteta's experience level when he took the Arsenal job in 2019?
Well, I think that Man United, every club is different, and I think that Man United, with great respect, I think then that basically is a different level of club expectation, fan base, and I just think, you are talking about two different things, talking about two different scenarios and two different, Arteta's done an incredible job, but I do feel as if United need, bearing in mind there's almost the decade that they've had. Yeah. That's why I think that basically they need a massive figurehead to do it.
Is that where though you get the one benefit of, I don't want to go down the knows the club DNA, all that. There's a bit of that gets the fans cheerier, but doesn't really mean too much. The one aspect where it could help is that you always see anyone goes into Man United, thinks they understand how big it is, and then someone coughs and it gets on the back page of a paper, and they don't really, they're blown away by where that comes from. Does he at least have the understanding of dealing with, well, maybe not dealing with, but experiencing, living day to day a club of that size, which is unique in this country? Is that the one area that it could help him?
Yeah, possibly. But I think you'd go down the Carrick route and it would work well. And listen, I backed him at the start of the season, basically finishing the Champions League places. Yeah. I'll slip that in, Dominic. So listen, we are talking about a squad that's underperforming massively up until now. We saw a glimpse yesterday of what they can achieve. And I thought that it was brilliant that Carrick, as James Ducker sort of rightly points out, harnessed all elements of it. And it was fabulous to see. Maybe it will work. Maybe he'll push them on, and maybe it will do for the rest of the season, maybe next. But I just feel as if, come on, it's...
Behave like a big club.
Yeah.
Just on that, we'll come to City in just a moment. Just one final point on this. Are United going to be facing a potential dilemma here, Jack? Because they are clearly going to be doing due diligence on a permanent manager, because they've already stated Carrick is in charge until the end of the season. So while they're doing that and while they're sorting out a deal for a permanent manager, what happens if Michael Carrick exceeds all expectations at Manchester United? there's a problem there then for United, isn't there?
That's the test of this leadership. You know, we're reading in the week that people within the club are confident they've got the perfect structure for a new manager to walk into and succeed and thrive in Wilcox, Barada, Jim Ratcliffe above them, the other departments they're building, the data, the scouting, everything that's coming together. They think they've got this perfect structure. There's not much evidence recently that that's correct and that they're right to have that belief. There's nothing you can see on the pitch that points to this being an incredibly well-run club at the moment. So that, if Carrick, and again, it's a big if, this is a great start, if he can pick it up and keep it going and keep that energy running until the end of the season across those Premier League games, that presents them with the big test of, like we said earlier, which route do they want to go down? Do they want a big figure that's going to come in and challenge them and have arguments and butt heads, but probably take them to the next level on the pitch? Or do they want someone that's going to quietly slot in, do the coaching, use the players he's given and tick them along, and we'll see where they get. It's what they want to take on, what they feel ready to, whether they feel ready to be challenged enough by a manager that's seen almost everything in the game and knows what he needs to take a big club in the right direction. That's the biggest task they're going to face at the end of the season.
Yeah, and I'm sure this argument will continue if, as you say, they blow the doors open at the Emirates next Sunday. Jack, just on Manchester City, because I don't think many people expected that kind of performance from United, but not from City either. Sam Wallace in the Sunday Telegraph, the headline is Haaland red face as Guardiola flexes managerial muscle. He says it's hard to bet against City. They have so many good players, the capacity to acquire more, and for now at least the most accomplished manager of his generation. But perhaps the era when City played a style that often felt impossible for any to overcome for a sustained period is over. That's quite damning, isn't it, for Manchester City?
Yeah, it really is. And I think the issue here is that Pep Guardiola's obviously completely changed the style of how City play over the course of the last 12 months. And they play a much more, basically individualistic style, much more direct, probably more conventional. They don't get 80% possession or whatever like they used to. They don't play it like the way they play. It's not all about having the ball at all times anymore. But the problem with that individualistic style is really dependent on the individuals. And if you watch them play this season, even when they've been good, they've been much, much more dependent on Haaland than they've ever been on an individual in the past. You know, the great Guardiola teams were never as dependent on whether it's David Silva, De Bruyne, Aguero, Sterling, anyone, as they have been this season on Haaland. And the problem with that is it's inherently brittle if you play like that, because if your top player goes to a bad run, then the whole team's in trouble. And that's exactly, like, I think anybody who's been watching City this season knows that if Haaland stopped scoring, City would be in a mess, and that's exactly what's happened. You know, I don't blame Haaland. Like, to me, he just looks really tired. He's obviously played tons of games this season. He's not currently at his best level, and I just think that the dip that City are currently in, it was probably inevitable. It was probably inherent in this more individualistic style of play they've gone to.
And Jack, I'm just picking up on what Jack said there about Erling Haaland. The dip in form is evident, isn't it? It's one penalty, one goal, and it's a penalty in his last 7 games. Is it a blip, or, as Jack was alluding to there, maybe something deeper and reflecting in a malaise for Manchester City just now?
There's definitely a bit of that where they've got real struggles at the back game against Chelsea at the start of the year, and they were leading until late on when Chelsea brought one in under an interim manager, and it just didn't feel like the proper City. They weren't completely all over them, pulling them this way and that. It didn't feel like a proper, this is City right on the edge. They're going to chase down somebody and really reel Arsenal in. I think it would be naive to say that this is a really big problem for Haaland and we're never going to see him at that level again. A couple of months ago, before Christmas, when City were getting into their stride a bit, there were concerns that maybe it was just Haaland that was scoring all the goals, but you sat here and thought, well, I can't see him stopping. So it's not, if you're going to rely on one player, it may as well be Erling Haaland. But it just doesn't feel like they've quite worked out how to best support him with the players they've brought in as well. We were chatting before, there's a lot that have come in and made encouraging starts and then dropped off. Reinders started the season well, Cherky came in and looked great. Not really seen much of him. Marmoush came in from Germany last season, started fantastically, and we've really not seen enough of him. There's been a lot of recruitment that has looked good at the start. Semenyo's come in, flying start until yesterday. But again,
he's been great.
He's been fantastic.
He's a super signing. I must say, I think Gay's a brilliant signing.
Gay's a fantastic signing.
Brilliant signing for them. a deal worth, say, up to 30 million quid. I mean, yes, it's extraordinary you were paying that amount of money for a player with 6 months left, and obviously having to reward him with a big contract.
But his actual market value.
Absolutely. Yeah. But, and therefore, they are getting a fantastic deal, whichever way you paint it. It's brilliant business on their part.
And they've gazumped everyone again.
Absolutely.
Liverpool were in for Semenyo, United were looking at him, Arsenal had a look, and they just went and gone, bang, done. And they've done it with Gay as well. Everyone that was, manoeuvring, trying to line up a summer move and trying to... I think they've done brilliantly. I think he will shore up their defence. I still think, I know people are, I still think they're going to have a say in this season. I really do. Yes, they've had bad days like they had yesterday, but Guardiola's a genius, and I have this little theory that he's made the most unlike sort of Guardiola signings in Donnarumma. Donnarumma's not a Guardiola goalkeeper, but he's an absolutely fantastic goalkeeper. Why? Because he's for here and now. I do think, are we witnessing the end of of Guardiola's amazing time in English football? For me, I think he's been the best manager bar none in the Premier League era, and I think he wants to go out in a blaze of glory. And I think I think if he could do that, I wonder whether that would be his last season in English football. If he went, what a way to go with the biggest prizes of all.
Yeah, and rather like City, everyone wanted you three this morning, but we got straight in and gazumped.
Where the hell has this Manchester United been in the last year? We watched a year of football under Ruben Amorim with the same system, game in, game out, being outnumbered in midfield, too open, a lack of structure, a lack of a game plan, that god-awful record, what was it, 15 wins in 45. They go with a three-man midfield, a little bit of pace out wide, and Scott, it's been, from a United point of view, is that pretty much perfect, right?
Look, this is the best performance I can remember United putting in years.
Full-time, Man United 2, Man City 0.
Oh, what a relief that is. I've been watching the most turgid, boring football. I haven't really felt anything about it for most of the time over the last 2-3 years. It's been that long, honestly. And the approach that United actually took to this game today was absolutely spot on. Every player to a man was brilliant. Every player to a man. The tactical setup was brilliant. And I'm just so delighted to feel something again from this Manchester United team. Every single player did brilliantly. And this is the kind of statement victory we needed, really, to just pick up a bit of momentum. There's 16 games left. United can do it. This group of players are better than what they've been showing. And today they showed it. I'm delighted.
What would Ruben Amorim be sitting if right now we could pan to him sat in his living room, maybe still Manchester, watching this game of football? What would he be thinking to himself?
He'd probably be thinking they won a lot of 50-50s today and second balls. That was what he was talking about all the time. Look, tactical approaches, yes. I think tactically today, Carrick and his coaches got it absolutely spot on. He deserves a lot of credit. For me, it's not always been down to tactics. Look, there's a strong argument to say that, yes, you put the players in the right positions and they will play a lot better. And I'm not disputing that at all. But I think culture is a big thing that needs to shift at this club. And I want to see performances like this. I not only want to see it this week, I want to see it next week at Arsenal. I want to see it in the weeks to come when they have games at home that you'd expect them to beat. I want to see that same determination. United have shown that they can hang with the best. And City are one of the best Premier League teams we've seen ever. I know this is a slightly different team now, but they're still throwing a lot of money at it. Semenyo today was anonymous. Haaland, anonymous. And United restricted them, and they played to their strengths as well. I still think there's a thing about this team where you look at a lot of the players, they probably are still a transition team. They do need to sign a couple of midfielders, I think, over the course of the summer, just to be able to stay on top of games and have a bit more control in it. So that will come. But in terms of transition, Carrick has lent into the players' strengths today, and it's absolutely worked a treat. It's been fantastic.
You hear a lot about the Man United way, don't you, and all that. But to be fair, in the first 10 minutes, there was a couple of late challenges.
Yeah.
The adrenaline was up. They were aggressive. And you thought, okay, this is a bit different. And then when they did get the ball, Man United, the game plan was pretty clear, wasn't it? Get it out wide. You had pace there. And I know it's cliche to say it, but is today the Man United way?
That's it, right? United aren't a team that will pin you back for 70 odd minutes of games or whatever, and they are more willing to. I love counter-attacking football, right? I think of Jurgen Klopp's Liverpool, and I think of Pep's City down the years, the two best teams generally over the course of the last decade or so in the Premier League, outside of Arsenal now, right? But Klopp's Liverpool, they kind of lent into that attacking style, that high energy style. And United's DNA, I think, is not always to be on top and pin teams in like City have done and keep 80% possession or whatever. It is letting them come onto you and breaking. Like the Mbeumo goal, they scored the first one, like 4 players like flying forward, like outnumbered them 4-on-2. That's what I love to see. That's what I love to see as a United fan. And they just keep doing it. Just keep doing it every week. I've had a lot of fun today. It's been brilliant.
It's what about that midfield? I mean, there was so much talk about Kobbie Mainoo coming back into this team and what he brings to the team. The balance of that midfield three, do you think that is the best option United have moving forward?
Currently, yes, I think so. Casemiro today I thought was really good as well. Kobbie alongside him, he brings that ability. That there was a moment where he dribbled around. It might have been Semenyo, I think, in the first half, if I remember rightly, but like just a quick little shift from left foot to right foot, and then, you know, carries away with it and switches the ball the other side. That is what we like to see from Kobbie, and he just has that extra bit of quality. United need ability in midfield like that. They need to be able to get the ball, like transition it into wide areas or push it forward or whatever, and Kobbie is that guy who can carry it and can pass it into those areas. So United have been lacking it. He's been overlooked, but he's back in the team now. I want to look forward, not dwell on the past. Like let's keep this going. Like that's exactly what I want to see.
Michael Carrick has managed 4 matches at Man United.
Brilliant record.
He's beaten Unai Emery, Mikel Arteta, Pep Guardiola, and drawn with Thomas Tuchel. He remains unbeaten. Do you want to give us that soundbite? Give it, Carrick. Just give it to Carrick.
It's Carrick, you know. I'll give it that one.
Give him the 5-year
contract on the table.
I mean, seriously, when do you want to sign? I mean, we've seen enough, haven't we, Lee? I joke, by the way. For the record,
right.
I joke.
On the Mainoo point, though, you come in as Carrick and you go, I've got an England international here who's not being played, who I can get a tune out of. I know I can get a tune out of him.
And he's probably the perfect coach as well. Like, you know, the perfect
like a new signing for you.
Yeah, it's a cliche, but like there's so much potential in this team. There's so much potential in this team. I'm just so frustrated, like down the last few months, that I haven't been able to see it every time. But today, we got to see every player play out of their skin. I'm thrilled, honestly, delighted.
On your question about the title being over, Arsenal have gone 1-6.
Can I guess City? Can I guess City?
Go on. They were.
What were they?
Yeah, they were around 2.
Oh, they got to be double that now, 6 and 7.
6-1, yeah, 6-1 to win. Villa 25-1. So it's Arsenal's to lose. It always was, wasn't it? But 1-6 now. They go to Forest tonight.
And listen, the result was great, the performance is great, but I know it's only one victory, obviously. But you can even just see by the scenes that this is the sort of thing the fans have been crying out for such a long period of time.
Oh, mate, honestly, like the way I feel today, I feel like a weight's been lifted off my shoulders. It's mad to have to watch the performances down the last few months. To see that, it was like a breath of fresh air. And sorry, Kim, I know it's like a difficult moment for you at the moment, but like I just, for me, having not. There's been a United playing that I haven't really recognised, and I was hoping that there would be some point down the line that they'd come out the other end and we'd be able to see this again. Turns out, like, it is one game. It's one game in a derby. They have a lot more to prove than just this. I know that they can beat City. I know that they can. They did it last season as well. But we need to see this consistently, and that has to be the message. They have an advantage over everybody else who's in this top 4 race, pretty much. Everybody else. They covered more ground than City today. Like I don't, like 109 to 108 in terms of kilometres covered. Like that's the level of performance that we need to see out of United. The approach needs to change.
It was aggression off the ball, but also pace and directness with it. Like the game plan was quite simple, but it was implemented absolutely perfectly by the players.
Yes, and